Hey guys, we're back for season 2 of House of the Dragon. I'm in my shitty cosplay. Can you tell who I'm trying and failing to be? Anyway, it's not important. Let's explore how they stretched 24 pages out of fire and blood into 8 episodes. So, we're picking right up after the dogfight on Dragonback between Aemond and Lucerys that unintentionally gets Lucerys killed. Of course, in the book and the show, only Aemon knows he didn't mean to, but that's neither here nor there, because it's all about to get worse. The name of the first episode says it all. A Son for a Son. I was dreading this one because in the book it's pretty bad. So, Daemon went behind Rhaenyra's back to plan the assassination of Aemond. He hires a disgraced gold cloak and a rat catcher, hence the nicknames Blood and Cheese, to do the deed. They fumble it big time and corner both Helena and Alicent, who, as a side note, was not rolling around with Sir Criston in the book. That additional detail in the show gets a full measure eye roll from me. Anyway, so they have Alicent and Helena cornered and demand one of the children, not specifically Jaehaerys. Helena offers her youngest, named Maelor, in the book because he's a toddler and won't remember. They instead decapitate Jaehaerys. Now, before all this goes down in the show, we get to see a tenderer side of Aegon as he takes little Jaehaerys with him to council meetings and laughs as he does little kid things that disrupt the meetings. And he is really cutting Tywin Lannister down to size by unofficially appointing him as master of baby games. So anyway, so everything with blood and cheese happens, and everything pops off even worse in the show than in the book. In the book, Helena falls into a depression made worse by the guilt that she'd offered her youngest of her kids, and he might remember that. In addition to seeing his older brother being killed. The book also describes Aegon's reaction as drinking and raging, and leaves it there. The show really escalates his raging in a way that really makes us feel sorry for him, despite what a creep he was in season 1. And I do want to kind of respond to a comment from that video where I was remiss in my understanding of what I read in here versus what I saw on the show. The book describes teenage Aegon as a goose on the loose who needed a good slap. That's how I read it. The show depicts a rapey son of a gun who should be spending time in the slammer. But anyway, that's season 1. Moving on. The show really escalates Aegon's response to the murder of Jaehaerys when he has every rat catcher in the city hanged and left to rot. This prompts a more dramatic falling out between him and Otto Hightower than in the book that compels him to fire him as Hand of the King and send him packing back to Old Town, and also appoint the job of Hand of the King to Sir Criston. It was similar logic in the book about wanting to spill blood and not ink, just not with a shouting match and an insult exchange like in the show. All right, there also wasn't the dramatic funeral procession for Jaehaerys in the book that vilifies Rhaenyra. It cuts right to Daemon in Harrenhal, making plans from there, and the show adds these strange visions and dreams he was having, reliving past arguments with Viserys and Rhaenyra, and some strange oh hell no rolling around with his own mother that could be open to interpretation as either Daemon losing his mind, the same way the Mad King did, or the alleged hauntings in Harrenhal getting to him. Or the influence of Alice Rivers getting to him. She appears a little later in the book, and I'm curious about her character arc in future seasons. The battle at Rook's Rest is almost exactly the same from book to show. Rhaenys rides in on Meleys, Aegon on Sunfire, and Aemond on Vhagar, and the dragons tangle and spit fire in a tableau that is described in the book as a sky full of suns. from which only Aemond and Vhagar came out alive and uninjured. The damage dealt to Aegon is spot-on matched. But Rhaenys's death was prettified in the show with just a dramatic slow fall. The book describes and illustrates a charred beyond recognition body next to Meleys that is assumed to be that of Princess Rhaenys, the queen that never was. Now, going back to character arc, there is no mention of Lady Mysaria, the White Worm, in these 24 relevant pages. But I'm loving what they're doing with her in the show. She is using her street smarts to help Rhaenyra's cause, appealing to the people of King's Landing by sending food while the Greens are just letting them starve. She's dispatching her handmaids to recruit Targaryen bastards to come to Dragonstone to try their hand at dragon riding, which in the book was initiated by Prince Jacaerys. So let's talk about that for a spell. The taming of Seasmoke, Silverwing, and Vermithor was almost exactly the same from book to show. We just get a little more backstory on the new dragon riders, which is a little bit of a mixed bag between the book and the show. In the book, we get more details on Adam from Hull. He's a shipwright, and he's Alan's slightly older brother, and a secret bastard son of Lord Corlys Velaryon. After he bonds with Seasmoke and after receiving the news that Rhaenys died, Adam of Hull is legitimized as Adam Velaryon. The book describes Hugh as just a big guy and a blacksmith called Hugh the Hammer. The show gives him a glow-up as a family man with a sick child who is too proud to turn to his own brother, but Vermithor takes to him. So I hope we'll see in Season 3 what that does for him and his family. The third one, Ulf the Drunk, is given a rather comical introduction to Silverwing. He is running from the big fiasco that got most of the hopefuls burnt and eaten, including Sir Stephen Darklyn. And he fumbles his way into the dragon pit, tripping and rolling in dragon shit and piss, until Silverwing finds him and doesn't cook him. Then the show cuts to him flying crazily over King's Landing. And now for the character arc on Aemond. There's not much from the book to the show within these 24 pages, not to suggest that some of it might be carried over into Season 3. But anyway, they elevate his indignance and vindication in the show. Before Rook's Rest, Aegon is still not above humiliating and belittling Aemond. So in the show, there is a suggestion from Helena that Aegon's injuries from Rook's Rest were intentional from Aemond. So now he's in charge. He is acting king while Aegon convalesces, and it is not good. He is letting the people of King's Landing starve, and he burns down Sharp Point. Some final missing things from the book that were in the show were the secret talks between Alicent and Rhaenyra. In the show, they tried, and both times they were at an impasse. In the book, they weren't even happening since they hated each other from the get-go. There was also mention of Alicent's invisible fourth child, Daeron Targaryen, who was always kept in Old Town. There's also the deal struck up with the Triarchy that Tywin Lannister had to suck up some additional humiliations. There's also Rhaena Targaryen, who was sent to the Vale with Rhaenyra's two youngest, Viserys and Aegon, and she didn't get along with the Lady of the Vale. And she also wasn't giving up on her efforts to dragon ride. So much so that after the two youngest are sent to Pentos, she sneaks away instead of going with, and she runs and runs and runs until she successfully tracks down the one called Sheepstealer, the feral dragon. And the show ends with it looking like she just might tame that dragon. Just as Rhaenyra is toasting her 3 new dragon riders, and the Greens are sneaking out of King's Landing. And that is all of Season 2. What's going to happen to everyone involved really sucks, and I'm leaving it there. There also might be things that were included in the show that might appear later in the book. We will just approach that when we get to it and when I cover season 3. But so far, that is season 2 of House of the Dragon, and it's getting interesting. Different from book to show, some love it, some hate it. But thank you for joining me this week. Before I hop off, I'm going to be making videos quite a bit more infrequently for the next year or so. I'm going to be hitting some different books starting this month. They're school books. I'm going for a technical certificate in mechatronics to ramp up things up at my job, but I'll still be around, and we'll see you next book and movie.